Hey guys, I just want to talk a little bit today about when you start to suspect infidelity in a relationship that you might be in. One possible way that you could handle this is just how I handled it. I'm not saying this is the right way to handle it. I think everybody's situation is different. It's very subjective to a whole slew of factors that are going on around you at any point in your life, and it's a personal thing. This is very different for everybody, but this was going back a good couple of years. There was I dated somebody for a couple of years, and there was some real doubts about the fidelity in our relationship. And this is I think for all of us guys, like anybody who's out there listening, I think for us, man, this is like one of the most paramount things. And of course for women too. I mean, fidelity is such a big thing, but sadly enough, it's probably the most compromised element in relationships in general in our present day and age, sadly enough. But whatever the case, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my thought process and like the conclusion that I arrived to when I started to suspect these things. And now, granted, like this is a very gray situation. I never had any sort of definitive black and white hardcore evidence of my suspicions, but I just had this wit about me, had this sense about me, and I think that's like the very first thing to pay attention to and to key into is just the fact that your internal sensing mechanisms are starting to detect something that doesn't feel right, and you start to see that things aren't adding up, and you start to accumulate more and more suspicions about what's going on behind your back. It's not a good feeling, but just the fact that you're having that thought float across your mind more so and more so is very it's attention grabbing. And I think there's some argument to be said that, you know, sometimes our imagination, our mind can get the better of us, but I do believe that we as humans are equipped as we are for some strange reason to just sense things, and we feel the things we feel, and we think things we think. And I do think there's a reason for that at the end of the day. I think, honestly, in my life experience, 99% of the time, you're right, sadly enough, okay? So let's just roll with that. But you start to suspect things, and I think, so that's like cue number one. But like the second thing that occurred to me after that thought had been like so pervasive in my mind for such a period of time was just the very fact that I'm unsure about this, or I'm questioning this other person, is another very big red flag in my mind. That it's like, theoretically, if you're going to be in a healthy, tight, unionized relationship with anybody, theoretically, like, you shouldn't have these doubts. I know, once again, like maybe it's kind of a human thing that we're all going to deal with at some point, but when it's to the point where it gets to like what I'm kind of describing here, where you're really sincerely questioning, it's not just like like maybe, like it could be, but you're like, dude, something's not right here. Like something just doesn't add up. Like these things are just, there's too much here that I can't really look past. And I'm just like, your alarm bells are really ringing on loud. Your red flags are really going up high in your mind. I mean, that's the point that I'm talking about, where you might find yourself too. So that's just what I'm saying, is like, that's kind of cue number two, is like, if you're to that point, like, just stop and think about, like, what kind of healthy relationship is that? If that's really the state of being, you know, where you're at in your relationship, like that's not a healthy place. That's not a person that you probably want to be with. And if you're with somebody that makes you feel that way, you really got to question the fitness that you have for one another to remain in this relationship. And so I had experienced both of those elements for a good period of time. And I just got to this point where I was at a crossroads where I was so unsure of what was going on. It was just really messing with my mind. And I was like, well, I can either confront this person with like just tidbits of suspicions, or I can walk away and move on. And I'll tell you, I want to talk about the way that I arrived at the decision that I came to with this situation. And I was thinking about like, I wanted to stay together and I wanted to remain in the situation, but I was like, well, let's say I try to confront them. Like, number one, like, am I even going to get like to the bottom of this? Am I even going to get a straight answer? Am I going to get a lie? Am I going to be like more unsure after like whatever this confrontation is, or like whatever, or just like I said, like even just the plain fact that I even have to think about having this sort of conversation with a person that I'm in a relationship with, it's just asinine. Like, why would you want to do that? And so I rationed that it was like, well, no, like, I don't think that's going to get me anywhere. I don't think it's going to buy me anything. I think it's going to improve anything. I don't think it's going to, make anything better. I don't think it's going to prove, anything one way or the other. Let's say there's no hardcore evidence here to really bring to the table. So I just started to think to myself, like, this kind of twisted thought, as weird as this sounds, but I was like, well, do you either want to like come home and find like this girl in bed with another man and find out that way, and like have that sort of emotional, like, just sword through your heart for like a long time, if not the rest of your life? Or do you want to just leave the situation almost in ignorance and like never know for sure if anything bad was going on, and just move on and just pick up and get out and just live the rest of your life almost in blissful ignorance, never knowing the truth, and just being able to move on without having to see like something like that or experience something like that, as so many people in this world have had to go through. And that was the rationale I made. I was like, I'm so unsure of things right now, like just the way this person's acting, the way they're treating me, the things they're doing, that I was like, I made the rationale that it's like, I would rather walk away not knowing and potentially throw away this relationship that's like I'm already in question of. And like I said, I would rather walk away never having to have that experience of potentially even, coming home and finding this chick with another guy in bed, kind of thing. Like, that was my thought track. So I'm just, I don't know if like this story is going to be worth anything to anybody out there, but that was just the way that my head was working in the situations. Like I said, I'd rather bug out and punch out without knowing than hang in there longer and longer with all this shady stuff going on and find something really bad that I probably wouldn't want to know about at some point in time, potentially. And I think also too, like from a very zoom back perspective, I mean, this says a lot about just the relationship in general. And I think like deep down in my heart, I knew this wasn't a good fit, and I know this wasn't a good person, like in general, to be honest. And like, that said, like not a good person for me at the end of the day. So like, ironically enough, like whatever course of action was taken in that scenario of all of what I just described, like the end result probably would have been the same. So therefore, I do feel like my actions were the right one. And it's like I get to go on in life like without ever having to know like the full reality of what was going on there. But there was so much stuff that was just like, it became hard to look past at a certain point, that I was just like, there's too much like that just doesn't add up here. And I'd rather just leave, and I'd rather just go, and I'd rather just go on about life and not have to know what exactly is going on here, what the real deal is, as sad as that sounds. And that was a gut-wrenching, hard, hurtful experience in life that I hope I never have to go through, and I hope you guys don't have to experience something like that. We probably all will. I mean, honestly, we're all gonna have to go through these things if you're out there dating and trying to love other people and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. Like I said, I just wanted to share this story with you guys because maybe somebody out there is in this sort of situation right now where you're dealing with something like this. And I know I said it at the beginning of the talk, I know this is going to look very different if you've been in a 10 or 20 year marriage with somebody and these sorts of things happen versus like where I was. I mean, I was only in like, I think I was 2.5 years in with this person, and it just wasn't adding up. And I walked away, and I've never looked back. And to be honest, I'm happy. I did the right thing, and I know that deep down in the depths of my heart. And I hope that you can analyze and ration through your situation and make a determination of what is right for you and what the best thing to do for you is in your situation there. So, all right, guys, I hope you're having a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.